Blood Money, episode 29. Did Dr. Simone Gold just hang herself with her hubris and lies?
Today we're going to do something a little different, where we follow up on topics that were exposed in Blood Money, episode 22 with Kevin Jenkins, who is the current chairman of the AFLDS Oversight Committee. AFLDS stands for America's Frontline Doctors. I have to give a little bit of history and background regarding this topic. I also have to mention some things in order to maintain the journalistic integrity of this piece. So this is going to be a long intro. If you're not interested in hearing this long intro, please scroll to the beginning of this episode, which we will have the time code below in the description. So a little bit of background. America's Frontline Doctors was founded by Dr. Simone Gold, and she states that she founded this organization in order to fight medical tyranny, especially with the onset of the COVID-19 vaccines. America's Frontline Doctors came into prominence in July 2020 with a viral video introducing AFLDS on the steps of the U.S. Supreme Court. About 24 doctors showed up to that event, and it quickly gained 20 million views before it was taken down by the social media companies, including YouTube. Around the same time, Attorney Joey Gilbert became a prominent voice in Nevada as he stood against the lockdowns, the masks, and later on the vaccines. He and attorney Sigal Chattah sued the state of Nevada for the closure of churches and the legal embargo on tried and true medications like hydroxychloroquine. This brought Dr. Simone Gold and Joey Gilbert together as they were fighting the same fight, and Joey Gilbert was one of the few attorneys that was both skilled enough and willing to take on the very powerful forces in government and pharma companies. The marriage of these two forces, Gold and Gilbert, seemed like it was relatively harmonious for the most part until it wasn't. Joey Gilbert was brought onto the board of AFLDS pretty early on in 2021. In February 2022, he was made the chairman of AFLDS, something that 3 or 4 board members agree upon, with the exception of Dr. Gold, who began making public accusations that Joey Gilbert's chairmanship was fraudulent, but she did this after things started to fall apart between them two. In order to retain the integrity of this piece, I have to be blatantly honest about my role in all this. Firstly, I ran for office in Nevada at a time when attorney Joey Gilbert was also running for office. Our policies were generally aligned, and we held multiple events together. During that time, I developed a good deal of respect for Joey Gilbert because the fights he had been fighting were unpopular and difficult. I knew that his life had been threatened. He had been offered money to, shut up and go away. But his predictions that the lockdowns and the vaccines would be a disaster turned out to be very true. I've also seen him to be a great dad. I was also one of the lead producers on a lot of content for America's Frontline Doctors over the last 7 months, with the majority of the content being about Dr. Gold. My singular goal in terms of the work involving Dr. Gold was to elevate her, as I have a great deal of admiration for people like Dr. Simone Gold and Joey Gilbert. I've never had any personal negative interactions with either Simone or Joey, or anyone on their team, with one unfortunate recurring exception. And in full transparency, I put these two individuals, Joey Gilbert and Dr. Simone Gold, on the same level in terms of their effectiveness and their place in history when it comes to what happened with the COVID vaccine mandates and the mask mandates and the lockdowns. I am also testifying on behalf of what I believe is the current board of America's Frontline Doctors, based on the amount of evidence that I've seen, most of which is public.
All right, so this part over here is an insert. This is actually after the trial in question, because I had to insert this new piece of information since a couple of things happened at the trial that were very interesting, right? So it's unfortunate, but once the relationship between Joey and Simone started to fall apart, Simone started to accuse Joey of stealing money and using a company that I'm a stakeholder of as a conduit for this theft, which was really an outright lie. There's, we absolutely did nothing wrong. And nonetheless, they wanted to call me, and I'm speaking about Simone's side, to essentially they want to call me to question during this court session. And I said, gladly, I will go. I had all the receipts prepared that show that this accusation was a false accusation and absolute nonsense. And so I went to the court, and the crazy thing is, after hearing that this accusation was being made, they didn't even call me on the stand, which is very telling, because if they thought that there's any truth to what they were saying, they would have called me on the stand, but they didn't, because the receipts clearly showed that it was a lie. Unfortunately, while they were silent about that matter in the court of law, where it's such an accusation, a criminal accusation, should take place, they haven't had that kind of discretion. I'm speaking about Simone and people on her side in terms of making these accusations within the community, that we work in. I've heard multiple sources say that Studio 17 is being accused of somehow being part of this money stealing scheme by Joey Gilbert. And unfortunately, that has had its effect on our reputation, at least on this temporary basis, which does not make me very happy, because it's completely false.
I am going to be very clear here. I am on the side of Kevin Jenkins, Rachel Rodriguez, Sheriff Mack, Joey Gilbert, and all the other individuals on the current board. And on that note, what I have today is a press conference held by Dr. Simone Gold, with the press relations person being CJ, that was held on January 22, 2023 via Zoom. This Zoom press conference, for the most part, was based upon attacking Joey Gilbert. That's not conjecture. This is a fact for anyone with eyes and ears. The majority of this press conference is spent on talking about what a bad person Joey Gilbert is. And the way I've approached this press conference is that statement by statement, I pause in order to A, present evidence, and B, make commentary upon what Simone Gold and CJ are claiming, in order to bring, more light to this matter, because frankly, this was a very one-sided press conference and a lot of details were left out. In my opinion, a lot of lies were said. I believe it was quite a shameless press conference for multiple reasons, and I believe the viewer, an unbiased viewer, will see why.
Let me tell you a little bit about Joey's backstory, why I know that for sure. So when he ran for the governor, the Republican nomination for his state in Nevada, he lost by a lot. Okay. Now, our side definitely knows there's election fraud and there's voter fraud and all of those things. But sometimes you lose an election. Sometimes you lose. And so he got, if I remember the numbers correct, the person who won the Republican nomination took 37% of the votes, and he took 26% of the votes. Now, 11-point spread is not a close spread. He also only won his own county by not an impressive amount. So here we have an 11-point spread. Really, I can't imagine anyone challenging an 11-point spread. It's lunacy. What he did, though, is he decided to challenge it. So to challenge it, he had to do an audit. That audit had to be privately paid. So he had a donor spend $200,000 to do an audit, which is an impressive sum of money to waste. Then he took that, audit results into court and filed that it was an election integrity kind of lawsuit. His evidence was so non-existent. He used a quote-unquote expert who wasn't an expert, and the person didn't qualify as an expert. Some amateur mathematician who said that I won, that Joey won. And that was his evidence. And the judge was so offended at the waste of the court's time and the lack of evidence that he sanctioned him $250,000. So he uses $200,000 of his donor's money. Then he gets sanctioned $250,000. The judge reprimands and sanctions him, really just all but throws the book at him for being so frivolous. And that was what he had done just a few months ago. A little bit before that, the Nevada bar said he didn't use the word disgrace, but he said something like he was harmful to the profession or disgrace to the profession on a different matter, on an entirely different matter. So in the span of 1 year, this lawyer has had two major problems that I'm a lawyer. We have 3 or 4 lawyers on the phone. That this is not a normal situation.
As you can see, Simone Gold is going out of her way to paint Joey Gilbert as a bad guy. But I fail to see what any of this has to do with the case at hand, which involves Joey Gilbert accusing Simone Gold of misappropriating funds, an accusation which is supported by all other members of the board with the exception of Dr. Gold.
So that's who he was. Now, after he files his Florida lawsuit that alleged the 3 defamatory things against me, and it gets thrown out.
What Simone fails to mention is that the suit was dismissed because of jurisdiction, which the judge said belongs in Arizona because the company is based in Arizona. The AFLDS nonprofit is registered in Arizona, right? I think this particular comment could be classified as a lie because Simone Gold is a lawyer. She says every time she gets on stage, she's like, I'm a lawyer and a doctor. So any lawyer should know that there's a clear distinction between dismissal because of jurisdiction versus dismissal because of the credibility of the case. This case was dismissed because of jurisdiction. It could simply be refiled. This is a literal non-news event. It's like, it literally means nothing.
What does he do? He goes to Facebook Live on his own social media and says, oh, it was all frivolous. I didn't mean anything by that Florida lawsuit anyway. And
all right, a quick note here. I could not find any evidence that Joey Gilbert has said that this suit was frivolous despite best efforts. If anybody out there has a link to Joey Gilbert saying that this suit that he filed was frivolous, please send it to me. I haven't been able to find anything.
And he literally does this. So that has also been submitted to the court. But he is using the court system to punish and to threaten and to bully people into doing his bidding. So I've been quiet this whole time.
All right, we're in for a bumpy ride here. You're going to find a number of pauses going forward because the lies are just going to add up one after another from this point forth. This particular comment that she has made is a bold-faced lie. She has been far from quiet. In fact, in the same interview, she admits that she has full control of the AFLDS website and hence everything that's published on the AFLDS website. Here's the clip where she admits that.
All right, Richard is sorry, guys.
2 quick questions. I'm assuming you still have control of the website. Is that correct?
100%.
So that's the source for reliable information.
Yes.
So the reason why the clip you just saw is so relevant is because she has full control of the site. She's saying she has full control of the site. These are the kind of articles that have been being published on this site, all highly critical of Joey Gilbert, all basically saying that he's a Michael Avenatti type, is a criminal, he is, doing all these criminal things, stealing money. And so the statement by Simone Gold that, this is her coming out party as far as this topic is a bold-faced lie. It's a bold-faced lie. She's been talking about this topic since the start, since September 8, when she tried to boot out Joey Gilbert from AFLDS after he approached her and said, look, you've been taking money that you are not allowed to take. We need to basically reverse this issue. She started going after Joey Gilbert from that point on, attacking his reputation. And as you will see, the agenda of this is really to destroy Joey Gilbert's life, to cause as much damage, all while using AFLDS fundraising dollars in order to pursue this agenda of destroying Joey Gilbert's life.
Let me take, I'm not sure if that's really a complete story. But basically, we filed litigation to get him off the board, return control back to where it should be, which is myself and other, honorable people on the board.
Give me facts. Enough of the name calling and conjecture. Simone has showed me nothing that shows Joey Gilbert and the dozens of people that are standing against her are dishonorable or any of this name calling. Show me the evidence. All you're saying, you're just calling names, Simone.
One of his claims is that I'm no longer on the board of directors of America's Frontline Doctors. So obviously everyone knows that I founded the organization. Obviously everybody knows that I bring in, all the excitement and the ideas and all those good things and the funding for it. So in February of 2022, I considered stepping down from the board for a couple of reasons. One was that it was a personal target of the government. The government was really against me, and we thought it might be better for America's Frontline Doctors if the chairman of the board didn't have a target on her back, was one reason. Another reason is I understood the donations I was receiving to be a mandate from the American people to start a new healthcare system. That's absolutely how I understood the volume of donations.
This is where I think Dr. Simone Gold should know better, since she is a lawyer. She set up a nonprofit called AFLDS, yet she's talking about funneling money into a for-profit corporation. So being a lawyer, she should know how this is wrong. It's illegal.
So we considered doing that as part of America's Frontline Doctors, which is frankly always what I thought it would be. In my head, they were one and the same.
Again, she seems to have created this world in her head where it is okay to take funds from a nonprofit to enter it into a for-profit corporation.
The constitutional fight we were in started from medical tyranny. And if you can fool people through their doctors and the healthcare system, you can end up in a tyrannical state. And so I never really separated them in my own mind. But as a practical logistics matter, was it better to be part of a nonprofit? Was it part of our nonprofit mission, or was it for profit? So this is the thing we were really struggling with for a while. And prior to February, which is a fact that's not talked about much, we talked about it extensively within AFLDS, and there's a lot of emails about it. Do we do clinics? Do we not? Do I do it separately? Like, what's the deal? All of that was kind of going on around February of 2022. And in that backdrop, I considered stepping down, and I offered my resignation, and it was a conditional resignation, and it required me receiving funds to start the clinics.
And in this moment, she's all but admitting that's a reason for her holding AFLDS hostage.
That was part of it. So the contract included a salary for me, the fact that I would live in this Naples headquarters, which was what everybody always wanted, because I use it to meet people and have the right environment in which to explain America's Frontline doctors to donors and to guests.
She needs a $3.5 million home to live rent-free so she could explain to donors what AFLDS is.
And the third was a seven-figure amount, $1.5 million, which was significantly less than 10% of what I had raised.
$1.5 million of donor funds for her to start a for-profit clinic with non-profit money.
I think at that point, we talked about it. I had raised $17 million.
I frankly don't like comments like this. I would even say I hate comments like this because it was people's fear, desperation, anxiety, and concern that helped her to raise funds. They're not giving money to Simone, in my opinion. They're giving money to the cause and mission. And this is where her logic, in my opinion, fails and falls apart completely.
My salary at that time was very, very low. It was much lower than my physician's salary. I, for 10 months, took no money. For 6 months, I was at $10,000 a month. I'm sorry, $15,000 a month. And then I was at $20,000 a month. That was all I had earned. That's the sum total I had earned.
How many of you out there consider $240,000 a year to be a small amount? So just to recap, she wants to live in a $3.5 million house rent-free with her underwear model boyfriend. She wants another $1.5 million to start her for-profit corporation and a minimum of $240,000 a year as a salary, all off of nonprofit donations. But it gets worse. If you go through these legal documents, you see that she really wanted $50,000 a month, which is $600,000 a year. So essentially, we're talking about in the ballpark of $6 million, give or take, that she wanted to take out from the complete $17 million that they have, which is, 30% of the funds she just, wants to take out and basically use for her benefit.
While raising $17 million. So when I considered stepping off the board decided when I was out of the room, we have that on audio tape, that I wasn't even there during the negotiations, they would pay me $1.5 million, and everyone understood I was going to use this for the clinic. Two things never happened, which is why the contract, the resignation was never valid. One is it's required to be in signing, and I wasn't signing a resignation until the contract was completed, and they never paid me the money. Part two, they never paid the money. I can't tell you why America's Frontline doctors through Joey Gilbert refused to pay the $1.5 million. We did have the cash. To me now, it's still unclear. It should be obvious to all of you that I'm not super focused on money, so I just wasn't.
All right, so she just said she essentially wants to drain 30% of all funds raised and use it for her own benefit, right? And now she's saying she's not focused on money. Give me a break. You're not focused on money, but you want to live in a $3.5 million house, take nonprofit money and use it for profit, another, $50,000 a month.
And looking back, it looks kind of foolish that he didn't insist, but, month after month would go by, I would ask Joey. And then he came to me and he said, please, can you sign the resignation agreement? And I looked at him, I'm like, what are you talking about? You haven't paid the money you're supposed to pay on it.
I don't know what else this shows other than Joey Gilbert was unwilling to commit a crime called fraud.
And that's where we're at. And I guess the other thing we're at is that Joey continues to attempt to defame me personally, and now I'm going to go public with everything.
She's been going public from the start, from September 8th. The evidence shows it. using her team in Israel, the news team in Israel, to defame Joey via news articles, all which she admits she controls. And there's tons of evidence to show that literally since the start of their breakup, Simone Gold has been using the AFLDS site and the team in Israel to write defamatory articles of Joey Gilbert.
I'd love to take questions. There was a lot of talking.
Remember, we just heard Simone talk about transitioning donation funds from a nonprofit endeavor to a for-profit endeavor, which warrants some very hard questions from these journalists. But that's not what we're going to get.
First of all, thank you. That was a great and thorough summary. I really appreciate that. What is the current composition of the board of AFLDF? Like, who is considered on it from your view? I'm trying to figure what's the current setup.
Thank you. I love good legal questions. I really wanted this to be like pretty legal. I haven't talked that much about Mac and Jurgen, but let me share two things about Mac.
So she's about to talk about Sheriff Mac here, a constitutional sheriff, and Pastor Jurgen, a highly respected individual with many churches under his control.
In April of 2022, I'm losing track of time. In April of 22, Sheriff Mac asked me from AFLDS to donate a huge amount of money to his organization. I mean, not a small amount of money. So, and in writing, he made this request in writing. It was $2 million, $2.5 million, some crazy sum. And it was shocking. So I wrote a long email back and I said, people donate to America's Frontline Doctors for medical freedom mission. It's not the sheriff mission. We support the sheriff mission, but there's no way I can donate to that. In good conscience, I have a fiduciary obligation to the American people, but I would do anything I could to help you. I would speak publicly, do your events, whatever. This was well known to be pretty unethical. Joey then offers Mac the position of CEO of America's Frontline Doctors. This is really, really strange. If we needed a CEO, it would never have been Richard Mack. He's totally unqualified to be CEO, really, in my opinion, anything.
All right, so a highly respected sheriff that's run offices and had large numbers of staff under him is highly unqualified. In contrast, Simone thinks that employing her boyfriend, who was prior to this an underwear model and a mall cop, John Strand, as a creative director to the tune of $120,000 a year, plus around $150,000 plus in credit card expenses. That's over $270,000 at minimum. She thinks that's okay. For that kind of amount, she could have literally gone to any agency out there and gotten one of the top creative directors in the country, as opposed to the highly, highly unqualified John Strand.
And it was lunacy, and he wanted to pay him $20,000, and which was an unbelievably high salary for a nonprofit. It was higher than pretty much everybody. It was higher than everyone but me. And it was lunacy. It's confusing to all of us what active role Jurgen is playing versus just being passive. It's very confusing. He runs a lot of churches. He's kind of a mega church kind of guy. I thought he was a straight shooter. I'm definitely wrong about that.
So this is a recurring theme. Those who stand against Simone Gold being bad guys and being bad people. Again, show us the evidence that Pastor Jurgen is bad. From our research, he seems like a highly respected pastor, and I have yet to find any blemishes against his name. So again, Simone has failed to present any evidence to the conjecture that she brings forth.
The reason I ask, and I know you know this, Simone, but very quickly, is that we are a court looking at the situation, and at least in name, Joey Gilbert is on the board, and you, Simone, who you are, you're the founder, you are really America's Frontline Doctors.
Alrighty then, so CNN over here just said that Simone is America's Frontline Doctors. That's like saying George Harrison is the Beatles. The basic grammar dictates this to be an idiotic statement, as singular individuals cannot be doctors.
But it seems like the rest of the board should be ganging up on him. I am 100% with you, Simone. I have a situation off record, but...
All right, so this journalist just said that she had an off-the-record conversation with Simone. This alone is hackery at its best. Let's call this lady a propagandist from this moment forth, because that's not a journalist. Journalists don't have off-the-record conversations and then push the agenda of their interview subject.
Just for the court, it would be great. I guess it can hear from Lisa, but the court needs to hear from people within your organization who are agreeing and playing out. Joey is duplicitous and dishonest, all things. And so you got Lisa behind you, obviously. Maybe Pastor Jurgen just out of his comfort zone, even trying to figure out what's going on. That's like the best explanation. He's not sure what to do, so he's kind of paralyzed. And Sheriff Mack, I'm kind of honestly shocked, but he's still on the board too.
Oh yeah, no, everything. So now I said my words, but we're going to give you the evidence packet. You can read all this evidence, emails and stuff, because you don't have to just accept that I'm saying it.
Okay, so you heard it from Simone's mouth right there. Nobody has seen the evidence package yet. As she said, they are sending the evidence package. Therefore, anyone on this call who is not asking the hard questions, who is giving their undying dedication to Simone without having seen any evidence, should be considered a complete hack on its face.
But it is troubling. It's this hard thing that we're presenting to the court. You know, why are 3 people doing this? Like, why do they not instinctively? And my best answer is that Joey is charismatic. He couldn't come out and directly attack me. That would have been foolish. What he did is he attacked John Strand. So for those of you who don't know, John Strand is my significant other, but he's also the creative director of Memphis Frontline Doctors. So the lies that Joey said really had to do with John. He said that John had stolen $100,000, and he said that to Jurgen, and he said that to Mac. And what they did, Debbie, is they didn't do their own due diligence. You are such a diligent person. You do your podcast, you're prepared, you're organized, you're ready to go. You would never just accept if somebody said something. It was just not suitable to be in Naples. Actually, $3.6 million in Naples is not extravagant. My goodness gracious, it's a lovely property for sure. But once the decision was made to be in Naples, this was not, I'd say to be in Naples, to be in a mansion would be like 8 or 10 million. Honestly, 3.6, it's a 4-bedroom. I don't know, just a lunacy. And we were doing exactly what we said, which is having a suitable place for me to meet and greet people.
Who made the decision to move to Naples, Simone? Were you forced into a rent-free $3.5 million home? Wouldn't it have been more prudent to have not bought a house in the Beverly Hills of Florida?
We have Laura Lynn Tyler with Laura Lynn Live has a question for you, Dr. Gold. Thank you for that explanation.
Awesome.
Hey, thank you, Dr. Gold. I had the privilege of interviewing you just out back of an event that you'd been at. And I just love you. Been following you since you started. So I appreciate you coming on record to talk about this, because my question is, how can we help you? We saw Stu Peters and the attack and things that have been said, and a lot of our freedom movement watches these people, and then they might not know when to think, but until CJ set this up, we had no word on what your response or what your side of the story was. So like many of us have shows, are you willing to come on and set the record straight as you have done here, or do you have to remain silent?
No, first of all, that's honestly the heart of the matter, the heart of why I'm here today. I was really between a rock and a hard place. And I know we're people of faith on this call, but it really was a King Solomon kind of moment. He was really defaming America's Frontline Doctors and defaming me. But if I brought light and attention to it, it would have, I think, been so much worse. So I bit my tongue. That was why I bit my tongue.
You said you control the site. The site has published many articles about your side of the story. You have not been silent, Simone. You're just lying to people bold-faced. You have been vocal from the start, using proxies, like your boyfriend, like the team in Israel, to put all sorts of negative defamatory articles out there.
I think these things should be tried in court.
Simone was highly critical of the judge that sentenced her to jail. In public, across many shows, she went on show after show criticizing the judge, accusing the judge of, I guess, she thought that he had asked her out on a date 20 years ago, and there was some kind of sexual bias.
Now that it's been filed, I will go on shows, I will talk, I will speak, I will give you the evidence, 100%. And I appreciate that people were in a hard spot. I do think most people did disregard this. The loyalty to me personally is very extreme, because people know I put everything on the line simply to save people's lives.
The loyalty to her is extreme, yet only 15 people showed up to this press conference.
And it's been heartening, but I also know people like yourself and people in the media. It's really tough. Stu Peters, you should know about Stu Peters. There's a lot that you don't know that I don't have time to say, but Stu Peters has already been served with a cease and desist. He's continued to defame me, and he's 100% going to lose. Stephen Biss is representing me. He has said this is like one of his easiest cases. his exact expression was, "There's a buffet of evidence." So when a publication, it's against, they're going to lose a defamation suit if they've been put on notice that what they're saying is false. So we gave him evidence to show that what he was saying was false, and he's continued to do it. So the two people who've done that is Stu Peters and writer Rynette Singham. Rynette has now gone quiet because she also was served by Stephen Biss, but Stu Peters has not.
Simone is also omitting truths here, like the fact that Stu Peters has invited Simone on many times to defend herself. Here's a clip proving that, which begs the question, why is Simone not going on Stu Peters? Is it because she feels uncomfortable not having a lapdog journalist not ask for the real questions?
But she has been very irresponsible and very reckless. And this is coming from Stu, a supporter.
Yeah.
Was a supporter. So
here's the personal invitation publicly. I'll just issue it right now. Dr. Simone Gold is invited on this program. Come on the show, open up your books, show us the truth. If this is false, if this is not true, we're here to see all the evidence that you have. Bring it forward.
I highly recommend, after watching this, for you to check out the Stu Peters episode with Kevin Jenkins. It's very enlightening. I almost feel like it's a companion piece to this, because between that and what you're viewing here, I think a lot of truths come out about Dr. Simone Gold that I don't think she realizes that she's even releasing from her own mouth, from her own actions.
So I ask all of you to start reporting on this. 100%. I will do my best to do as many interviews as possible. Lisa Alexander is the communications director, and she'll set up interviews and make it juicy. I mean, the truth is, the details are so salacious, you can make big headlines.
When speaking to journalists, Simone, you don't give them directions like make it juicy. That's a journalistic decision. When you start telling journalists what to do, it stops being journalism. It starts being propaganda.
I mean, honestly, the dude is Avenatti. Remember Michael Avenatti? Remember how CNN went on saying that Avenatti was like the greatest thing ever and Avenatti should become a presidential candidate? He's serving 20 years. Like, that's literally what we're dealing with. Honestly, I don't know how Joey holds on to his law license after this.
There is zero evidence that Joey's anything like Michael Avenatti. Here, Simone makes her cruel intentions clear. She wants Joey, a father of a beautiful daughter, a freedom fighter who's been on the front lines from the start, to go to jail for his life to be destroyed.
It's just so... I don't think the bar is going to look kindly on his actions.
We will help you. Any of us that can, we will help you, and we will get the word out. And the word of God says that, when you are accused, that by your own tongue you will refute and you will bring the truth. And so we will help you.
And remember, she hasn't seen any of the evidence. But she's ready to give her undying support to Simone Gold.
There's a fellow out there with Joey, a bad guy.
Now remember, everyone against Simone is a bad guy.
His name is Kevin Jenkins. And so Joey's made him like the pit bull here, the guy to really attack me, because I think Joey's crafty. So he's putting out kind of like fake articles, essentially, with the AFLDS logo. I can assure you that if it doesn't sound like me, it's not me. And doesn't have my name, it's not me.
Why hasn't Simone had doctors on the board in the first place, right? Could it be that these credible doctors want nothing to do with Simone? I mean, she showed up in Washington, D.C. about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago with, 24 doctors. Where did those doctors go? Why isn't there doctors on the board right now?
100%. We're going to have a board of heavy hitters in the health space. It was a natural segue anyway. And I think Joey can see the writing on the wall that I was going to replace the board with Freedom's medical professionals. I mean, we didn't know how successful we would be at the outset. So I think I've done a lot for 2 years, but it was all new to me as well.
All right, Richard, there you go.
Two quick questions. I'm assuming you still have control of the website. Is that correct?
100%.
So that's the source for reliable information.
Yes.
In this next clip, Simone lost a temporary restraining order hearing against Joey and the rest of the board. This is her explanation.
One of the things he said at the TRO hearing, which I didn't tell you, their side, the reason I thought we were actually going to win the TRO because the whole organization is with me.
Sorry, this is just not true. 3 out of 4 board members are against her. Also, the number of former and current employees that are against her is pretty overwhelming.
The judge looked like he was going to give us the TRO, but then he asked their side, well, will everything stay the same? payroll and people, and they're like nodding their head, yes, everything will stay the same. We're going to pay everybody. Everything's going to stay the same. So this judge has now himself been lied to.
That is a lie too, because everyone approved by the board has been paid by the board. Who hasn't been paid are the people that went against the board.
I do want to bring up one point that is very important that bothers me, because in working in journalism for more than 20 years of my life, the basics of just the rudimentary investigation that should have been done on who's in charge of AFLDS, as the prior person asked the question, who's in charge of the website? Dr. Simone Gold. Who's in charge of the blue-checked Twitter account? Dr. Simone Gold. Who's in charge of all social media? Dr. Simone Gold. I mean, this is the only other thing that's out there is Joey's AFLDS 2.0. That should have raised red flags for every single journalist out there. If somebody's claiming to be the owner of that organization, that is basic.
Since CJ is such an expert journalist of 20 years, she should know that possession of social media accounts does not signify ownership. There is not a single law book in the history of law written that says that whoever possesses the social media accounts owns the company. That's just nonsense.
The other basic thing that was missed, they never called her whenever the bigger show did the hit piece on her.
As you've seen from Stu inviting Simone on this show to tell her side of the story, this is in fact a lie.
They never gave her an opportunity to speak. They never reached out. And that is also just, are you a journalist or are you a performance artist?
Or you are a propagandist, CJ, which is the primary role of PR, aka public relations. You know you're a PR person, CJ, not a journalist, so please stop trying to represent yourself as an unbiased person.
If you claim to be a journalist, then do journalism.
Cue real journalists that actually asks real questions.
Hi, Simone. Hi, everybody. Quick question. I think you started to answer this. As you go into court with this, you've got 4 board members. You're one. You've got 3 board members aligned against you. So when a court looks at who is the organization, aren't they looking at the board? And how does that get dealt with? That 3-1 majority facing the court as you go forward here.
We're asking in the preliminary injunction that the court look at the organization and remove the board members for malfeasance for lack of doing their own fiduciary obligation. That's it. I think the evidence is overwhelming against Joey and Mac. I just think it's utterly overwhelming. I also think it's overwhelming against Jurgen, given that he had ample opportunity to check into the veracity of Joey Gilbert's lies. You're not allowed as a board member to simply listen to what somebody else says. You have your own fiduciary obligation. We've all seen the last few years, such a lack of, honestly, judicial ethics that I'm worried. I don't know the judge, right? I don't know. But the evidence is there that Joey has done wrong and that Joey and Mac made a deal privately and that Jurgen didn't interfere with it. So I'm asking the judge to remove all 3 of them. And we have many, many honorable people who would be on the board.
I hope, Simone, that you are able to communicate to any potential donors. The money flow has to stop to them entirely. So that's one way just to starve out this.
Real journalists do not give propaganda and PR advice to their subject. It just doesn't happen. Right now, she is playing the role of a PR person helping Simone, which is not the role of a journalist. Hence, she's a hack.
Fraud of an organization. And I assume you've already done it. Number 2 is everyone in this call, if you have shows in media, I have had Simone on my show many times. I'm so glad you're sending out the evidence packet. It's really important to speak carefully and precisely about what has occurred, because Joey Gilbert is obviously a litigious person. And you want to be careful you're saying what is true based on data, not what you kind of wish was true, or you are, or conclusory statements, because you don't want to end up being the victim of his litigiousness. But it's really important. I'm so glad you did the call to get these facts out, to get the straight facts out for everyone to understand. I really commend you.
I'm glad you reminded people of that. Yes, he is litigious, although I don't think he's really interested in going after media. I think he has his hand full. I think his kind of life is falling apart.
Do you hear the evil chuckle as she says this man's life is falling apart, knowing all too well that her media engine in Israel has been pumping out defamatory articles about Joey, doing their best to ruin his life? And here she is laughing at the fact that this loving father's life is being destroyed.
Because law firms falling apart, but 100% to just be accurate for accurate. I mean, I long for the days when journalists are just accurate.
So after Simone just spent nearly an hour claiming that she's been silent, the propagandist CJ spills some truth about how unsilent she has been through the website she controls.
How about you, Dr. Gold? Did you have any more statements that you wanted to make, or anybody with AFLDS? The actual AFLDS. Also, I do want to say one thing. John Strand and you have several journalists over at Frontline and Frontline Flash has done numerous deep dives. So if you do go to the actual website of America's Frontline Doctors, which has always been the website of Dr. Simone Gold, there are some great investigative pieces that reveal the background of Joey Gilbert and how he once raised money for there's actual evidence how he once raised money not too long ago for the Democrats, and not just the Democrats, but the Democrat socialists.
What CJ hack propagandist is talking about here is an amount of $700 that Joey Gilbert donated to Democrats 6 years ago. You see how she's trying to play political games here? What does this have to do with anything, CJ? CJ, you're telling me that somebody using their freedom to support a candidate is somehow a credibility issue? You're saying that what should be an impartial court ruling upon law should be considering that because he donated to a Democrat once upon a time, he is somehow a bad guy? This is your point?
That's very disturbing. It's very strange for somebody who was not too long ago raising money for Democrat socialists and now has tagged on to one of the top voices in the patriot movement in Dr. Simone Gold. So this is very interesting, and I say go to Frontline Flash and America's Frontline Doctors and look at the things that have been written there. I think it gives you a whole deep perspective. Lots of good stuff there.
And for the few doctors that I asked to be on the call, for me, your role is just the back talk. You know, I don't have the bandwidth or even so much the interest in defending myself. I simply don't. I mean, nobody does what I do for money. I simply don't do this for money.
So she says that she doesn't do anything for money. That's why she wants a $6 million plus benefit to her lifestyle. And I'm pretty sure that $6 million plus benefit to her lifestyle via living in a home rent-free, via getting $1.5 million, via getting $50,000 a month, while her boyfriend has $10,000 plus $15,000, worth of credit card bills. That's not money, Simone?
But please ask your questions on my behalf of me. People ask me. I know people are asking, what do you think? What do you think? Okay. The quick answer is, if you accuse somebody of stealing and their reaction is to fire everybody, including the independent accounting firm, there you go.
In this next clip, Lisa Alexander, communications director for AFLDS, I put that in quotations mark, asked the people to call or to send anti-Joey and anti-AFLDS board articles to this, what I think is the fake board of AFLDS, so they could continue their propaganda war against Joey Gilbert and the board, literally using funder dollars to destroy Joey Gilbert's life. That's what they're instructing the people on this call to do.
What I would like to ask is if you have questions or if you create stories, if you could share that with me at media@aflds.org. I'll drop that in the chat here. But if you publish anything, I would love to be aware of it quickly, and we will promote it on our channels as well. And if you need any other information or direction of where to find information, I'd be happy to help with that. In addition to Frontline News and at Frontline Flash, on our website, if you go under About Us, you can find all of our press releases, and we have a series of them that provide the statements that we've made over the past months addressing this issue.
It is clear that the damage that they inflicted with all these articles against Joey Gilbert was not enough. Now they're trying to multiply their efforts in order to really destroy Joey's life, in order to make, put the nail in the coffin.
And there's a wealth of information in that. So I will drop the email contact in the chat. And again, thank you all for being here and for being integrous journalists.
I would like to end this episode with the following clip from Blood Money episode 22 with Kevin Jenkins, but with one correction. In this clip, I incorrectly stated that the following statement was made by John Strand. I would like to provide a correction. This statement was actually written by the head of the media team in Israel, working under Simone's direction. She's already admitted she controls a website, she controls that media team in Israel, and that media team was the one that put out this following statement. I'm going to pull up a comment that I believe John Strand, Dr. Simone Gold's boyfriend, posted online, and I'd love to read this. So this is a message by John Strand addressing Jess Abu, who is a former employee of America's Frontline Doctors. This message states, however, Jess ignores the fact that while small donations are extremely important, the 7-figure donations came from experienced philanthropists who were well aware that Dr. Gold was an emerging celebrity, well on the way to achieving rock star adoration and recognition, and they were eager to fund this image as it enhanced the effectiveness of her vital message. Nobody would have accused, say, the Queen of England of living high on the hog on the British people's dime, yet Dr. Simone Gold has arguably done more for humanity than the entire ridiculous British family combined. Why doesn't she deserve the credit? I'd love for you to comment on that, Kevin.
Wow. That's just hubris at a whole nother level. That's sad. They're running away from the fact they tried to destroy Joey Gilbert's reputation. They're running away from the fact that they stole money and was engaged in fraud at the foundation level, at the nonprofit level. I mean, what they did to the board of directors by embarrassing those board members that were trusted, valued people that really wanted to grow America's Frontline Doctors. I mean, what you just saw right there is part of the problem, you know. And when people do that, and when people put themselves above the mission, when people put themselves above our children, when people put themselves above an organization like America's Frontline Doctors, they do us grave damage. She's no different than Big Pharma. She's no different than Big Tech, what Big Tech has been doing to us. She's no different at any level. She is now a part of their team. I mean, think about that. I mean, to compare herself to the royal family. Now, if people know anything about the royal family, I would not be doing that. So to give her this title that she's done more for America, has done more for this movement, that's hubris at another level. I mean, I'm really shocked. But now, after reading what I've been reading for the last several weeks, I'm not shocked at all. But you know what it is? I'm sad.
Please join us for the next episode of Blood Money, exclusively on AmericaHappens.com and Rumble.